Good morning, everyone. I'm sitting here with my pumpkin spice coffee watching Kitty play with his toy. My son gave me an extra one of their toys for his cats that they don't play with anymore. It's one of these round, flat things that has a ball that goes around it, and the center has a scratching pad. So he doesn't play with it all the time, but when he does, he's focused on it for 5 minutes, which is the attention span of a 3-year-old. So that's what he's currently playing with. I'm not going to interrupt him to bring him up here. He'll come up on his own. Anyhow, my title for the day is Technology Will Be Our Downfall. I am a technology expert. I've built computers from scratch. I have worked at a number of technology companies, including TRW Aerospace, on a satellite project called Millstar. I know technology. My workstation, which I'm looking at, I'm on my laptop now because I can sit here at the table with my camera right behind it, and I can have my teleprompter. It's easier to do this than on the workstation. But the workstation would be good if I was going to do editing. But it didn't work initially. I had to go fix it. It's no big deal. I bought a new power supply and took the old one out and put the new one in. Workstations are better from the point of view that if you want to keep the thing upgraded, you can't change out the processor and the motherboard, but you can add more memory, most cases, and you can change cards out in it with newer cards. Newer video cards, things like that. I haven't seen him play like that with that before, so that's interesting. I need to get him more chew toys. Hey, Kitty, Rocky, there you go. You don't chew on metal, dumb cat. Okay, I guess I'll let him do that. So anyhow, we're in the age now where they're talking artificial intelligence. We are not going to have an aware computer take over the world. That's a Satan lie. You could program one smart enough to look and act human. You can give them traits. You can buy software right now that can take your picture and put it into a animated human on the screen, and it will look like you doing stuff. You can write a script, feed it into it, and it will animate you doing whatever the script says. You can do that now. It's not hard. It just takes a big program to do that. We've got computers now that can handle big programs. Some of the games that are coming out now that these kids are playing are 80 gig in size. That's a lot of storage. Plus it uses online capability, so that's you can offload there. Hey, stop it. Hey! You can chew on the leg, but don't chew on the brackets holding it together because it might come apart. They have no idea. Kitties have no idea. So, artificial intelligence is being talked about. We'll get into that in a second, but what is it? Well, it's a human-made system that can do essentially what humans can do. Hey! He runs off. And here, sneak back and do it again. Cats have a mean streak or a curiosity streak. So, what can humans do? Well, we can learn, we can reason, we can problem solve, and understand languages and stuff like that. So, there's more to what we do than that. That's kind of narrowing it down pretty much. But if you narrow the scope down enough, you can make a computer do that. I've covered some of this before, but I'll go over it again as this topic. When I grew up, there was a computer game out They didn't have computer Game Boys and Ataris and all this other game equipment. This is the infancy of computers. Most of the computers were mainframes. And so this adventure game started off on mainframes, which is basically a master server computer somewhere in a room or a building, depending on the size, and dumb terminals that just displayed an image on it, and maybe a keyboard to interact with it. They didn't have mice initially, and then they finally did come out with mice. But initially it was just a dumb terminal, amber or green. You only got two colors. There were not full color back then. And because, I mean, we only had black and white TVs to start with. So they did give it a color, because you're going to be staring at it all day long. They didn't want your retinas to burn. But that's how it got started. Well, adventure game, you may not remember the first version of it. I've played the first version of it. I played it when I was at Stanford on their mainframe. But it eventually became Zork. Now, you may be old enough to know what that is. If you're young, if you're under 30 or 40, you're not going to know any of this stuff unless you've studied it. But the program had to be written as packed as you possibly could, because we're talking about K storage, 1000-bit storage, as opposed to terabytes now. You didn't have a lot of storage. And you had to run it locally. The mainframe was able to do it initially to get it started, but then eventually when they came up with enough computing power, and the PC came out in '89, and before that we had a couple of other computers. We had like the MSI and some other ones. I had a S100 bus computer. What was it? The Sol 100, I think is what it was. You can look these up. But anyhow, the mainframe started it. And basically, you'd write the programmers were smart. This is at Stanford, and it was shared among other colleges. You would basically turn it on. It's all text, no graphics, because they couldn't do graphics yet. They didn't know how to move pixels around on the screen. They didn't know to assign memory to the screen, so you could actually paint into that memory and then have the screen display it for you to watch it. They didn't know that part. So they wrote this text game, and it would just start up and it'd say, you're in a beautiful garden. There's trees to the left. There's a fountain over here to the right. You know, I'm watching him chew on the table again. But he looks like he's losing interest in it. The attention span of a 3-year-old. So it would, in text, describe the situation. So if you were a good writer, you could write a good adventure game. And you're in this little square which would represent the garden. And if you say, go north, using the coordinate north, south, east, and west, it would go to the next square. Now, this is all pictured in your mind, because you don't have anything but text. And it would say, you now have reached a stream flowing into the garden, and there's flowers and butterflies, and there's a rock there. Well, what do you do there? And what do you do in the first one? You could look at stuff. You know, you say, look at the tree. It's just standing there growing, would be the response. You know, there's a rock near the stream. Turn over the rock. You find a coin. Wow. So this is how adventure game worked. You had to basically, as you were writing it, program a limited list of commands, and there was about 20 or 30 commands. Go north, go south, jump, speak, run. I don't think we had hide, because that was too abstract. But so if something came, you had to basically just go north, south, east, or west to get away from it, and hopefully you didn't follow. But in any case, everything had to be programmed into it. The 20 commands. And again, I can't remember all of them. And when I got to where I could program and understood how to disassemble stuff, I would open the program up in a disassembler, and it would give me the actual coding, the machine language coding. But text would be in ASCII. So all the text that was in there would say, you know, go, run, stop would be in there. And then there'd be the coordinates, north, south, east, and west. So it would know how to read that. And if you were to get frustrated, like some of us did, and swear, simple swear words back then, we weren't sophisticated like today, the game would respond back. A good adventurer doesn't use language like that. So somebody had to program in that response and have a list of swear words to look up to see if we said that. See, that's how adventure game. Now, if you take that and you blow it up millions of times with millions of lines of code as opposed to hundreds of lines or 1,000 lines, you can make something that appears to be smart. China's going to have a mass production of robots here soon that can do simple tasks around the house. They've got ones out there that can be your companion if you're lonely. Oh my God! How can anybody be that lonely? Anyhow, I guess people have that problem. But you can kind of get a feel of where we're headed with that if you've got any of the appliances. I have an, I'm not going to say it yet, Alexa. And the phones have, the iPhones have Siri, and I have Alexa. Who is Siri?
Siri is known for being Apple's voice assistant.
See, there you go. It knows. Sort of AI. But again, it's programmed with the responses for the questions. The question may be written out all the way, or it may parse the sentence a little bit. You got to wake it up with its name, and then whatever you say after that, it's going to interpret that. Now, that's all voice, which is equivalent to text. No graphics, but I guess you could have that on the computer. And we've got ChatGPT, other models that are out there. China has a new one called DeepSeek, which is supposed to use less power and be cheaper than what we have here, and use cheaper computer chips. So the stock market took a hit when they came out with theirs. Everybody was expecting ours to be the winner, but China's got millions of people to work on this stuff. They're hacking into us all the time. And along that line of hacking, they've pretty much determined, but they haven't figured out how and where yet, that China is putting hidden code and hidden chips into all the technology that we're getting so they can listen to us and shut down whatever our technology is. So if they're doing that to our phones, all of a sudden all the phones in the U.S. go off. What are these people going to do who walk around all day long looking at their phones in their hands? We also wouldn't be able to say, hey, they're hitting the beach in Santa Monica, or New York or Virginia. They're hitting the beach. There's troops coming in from China. We wouldn't know that. The same thing with satellites now. Government satellites, they can't do that too, and they can't do it for a lot of them, but they've got their own up there, and they've been cutting cables. They're the ones responsible for cutting a lot of these cables over in Europe. If they can remove communication is a key in war. I don't know if you remember the movie Tora, Tora, Tora. You know, I like comparing things to movies. The Japanese fleet probably was better equipped and more capable than the U.S. fleet. We'd already been heavily damaged from Pearl Harbor. But what we had left, we sent out, and we got wind, because we got to where we could understand their code a little bit, that they were going to hit Midway Island or come in that way. So we sent our ships over there, hid them behind the island so they wouldn't see them initially. And then it was back and forth. You're watching the Japanese ships. They'd load up with fighters to go against other fighters, and they'd go airborne with those. And then there'd be a word that there's ships over here. Well, then they call the fighters back in, and then the torpedo ships would take off. They didn't have one plane does all. So they had to have them come back in, wait for them to land, and then take off with the torpedo ones to go after the ships, but because they didn't see the fighters in the air, and then the fighters in the air would come back, and we bombed them a little bit. Now, we lost a couple of carriers. Was it the Yorktown? Yorktown we lost. Midway was damaged. The original Midway. I don't remember. Was it completely destroyed or sunk? I don't remember now my history. It's a long time ago, and I can't keep that much stuff in my head. So anyhow, to keep up with this technology, communication was their problem. They couldn't communicate. And one of the fighters that was out there from the U.S. that actually found the Japanese ships, his radio didn't work. And he couldn't let anybody know. So there was a delay. Anyhow, Trump has announced it's a $500 billion total plan, but initially starting off with $100 billion to create it's called Stargate is the term, but he's using it with OpenAI, Oracle, which is a big mainframe type application program, SoftBank, which is banking, and they've got a joint venture going on to create data centers and build the U.S. infrastructure to support all this. So this is where our government's going. Now, again, don't dumb down man to the level that a computer can emulate and become aware. We're not going to see the Terminator. That won't happen. Man is far more complicated and sophisticated. We've already proven the theory of evolution is bunk, bogus, fake. It's a theory anyway, and we've proven it that it can't. In our laboratories, we cannot create life from non-life. What makes you think we can create a brain, a thinking brain with a soul? Now, they're not going to be able to do the soul part, but maybe they could do the brain part. Animals, cats and dogs have a 3 to 4 year old intelligent level, but they can't go any further than that. So we're not going to get a computer that's going to equal man. So where is all this going? Well, of course, it's going to give us the digital dollar. We're not there yet. Trump just signed a law saying that they can't use the digital dollar. So they're either going to have to wait 4 years or eliminate Trump and the rest of the team. They're going to have to eliminate a bunch of people to be able to go forward with it. And they're out there. If they could figure out how to kill off everyone that just got elected and appointed, they would do it in a heartbeat. These people are evil. All right. So we're going to have to see some AI. Now, the Bible doesn't say AI, but it does talk about a capability that sounds like AI. Would you stop doing that? Stop scratching at the wall. If you want to do that, you got your scratch stuff over there. Go on, kitty. So Revelation 13:15. It was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast. Now the beast we know to be the Antichrist. So we're going to have an image of the Antichrist. We can do 3D stuff right now. And we can animate it right now. But it's got very limited capability. You almost have to have a Wizard of Oz guy behind the curtain moving and doing things. And we can do that now. And it would look and appear real, and it could answer questions because there'd be somebody there, human side of it, acting out the part. But it's going to have an image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So this AI is going to be able to kill people if you don't want to worship the beast. They're going to know where everybody is, what you're doing. Your smartphone is smart for the people that are using it, not for the people carrying it. All that information is being tracked. That's where they were so afraid of TikTok, because that was from China, and they were collecting data. China's collecting data. They're spying on us. They're the ones responsible for the balloons that our previous administration let go over our military bases and take pictures and analyze and scan. Our evil, evil past administration. I don't expect them to be punished during my lifetime, but they will stand before God at some point in time at the judgment seat. All right. So the bottom line is, the technology is here now to program all this stuff to fool the people. You watch a movie and you're seeing things that don't exist. Kitty, he's doing his terrors now. But he runs full bore and doesn't pay attention to what he's doing. He's going to run into stuff. He's trying to be as fast as he can. It's a escape mentality, so if they get caught out in the wild, they can get away from their predators. So it's the natural instinct. You can't stop it. You can rest assured that after he runs around for a while, he's going to go sleep. All right. The technology is going to be there to fool the people. The Antichrist is going to fool the people. He's going to have the false prophet to fool the people. All this stuff is capable right now. The only thing holding it back is us. Now, Dr. Barry Ah has a new video up. Go check it out. Early on, he and all of us were basically looking at the rapture right after the Revelation 12 sign, not understanding what it meant. It appears to have been a 7-year warning. Well, that ended in November. We're not into warning time now. We're into judgment time. And so we got to get out of here. So when do we get out of here? Well, if they've calculated properly, and it's hard to do with the messed up calendar that we've got. If Jesus died in 32 AD, remember it would have been 33, but there's no 1 in the calendar because the Romans don't have a 0, not a 1. They don't have a 0 to count the first year. So it goes from 1 BC to 1 AD straight. And there's actually a year in between there. They couldn't do that. So that was one thing that could have thrown it off. The miscalculations of the early church in trying to calculate, because they used the Gregorian calendar instead of the Hebrew calendar. All this stuff. Now, they pretty much figured most of this stuff out. But we don't know the starting point. But we do know the ending to a degree. If it's 32 AD, if you count 2 more days, 2 more thousand years, that's 2032. You back up 7 years, that's this year. We're not 100% sure that it's a full 7 years. See, there's all kinds of fudging that we can do. It may very well be, and it may just be that it goes the full 7 years, but God stops the wrath from happening. Because it said if it continued like that, there wouldn't be any humans left. And he has to seed the millennium with some humans. Pretty bluebird. I had a cardinal and a robin yesterday. Now I got a bluebird. Even after we burn, these birds are coming out here to feed. Because fire opens up seeds. Causes the seed pods to open up. The pod protects the fruit inside or the seed inside initially. All seeds are to grow another plant, but we eat them. You make enough to grow the plants you need, and then whatever's left over, you can sell for people to eat. Okay, so that's what's in our future. We've got technology to be afraid of. God's in charge. Nobody can do anything unless God allows it. we know that there's all kinds of hell going to break loose after we're gone. But as I tell everybody, prep, be ready. You don't know where we're going to be at. We're going to have birth pains, and they get stronger and harder towards the end. What would you do if you were in the California fires and you weren't prepared? You wouldn't have had your documents with you. You wouldn't have had clothes in the car. You have just the clothes on your back. You might not have a first aid kit or food in the car. You should keep all that stuff there. You don't have to keep your personal documents in the car because the car could get stolen. Keep them locked up, but keep them in one spot so that if you have to grab them and run, you've got them there to go. You need birth certificates to exist. It takes a little while to get those back. You can reapply for them, and I've done that, but it takes a while. If you got a Social Security card, you need that to work. You got to have all this stuff. You can reapply, but it takes time. I would grab Kitty, my laptop. I think all my other... Now, see, I've scanned most of my documents online. So they're up on the cloud. Now, the cloud could go away. The cloud could be taken down. But right now, the cloud is where I'm storing things. I have copies of everything in my storage unit, but it could burn down. See, we don't know the future. So have backups. You don't have to carry a backpack around with all your stuff in it just to protect it. All right. Use the technology while you can. As with anything, a stone can be used to grind seed into powder and make flour, or it can be used to kill somebody, like Cain and Abel. Everything has a purpose. If you use it for the wrong purpose, that's bad. But you can still use it for the good purpose. Just be careful. Don't become dependent on it. I'm not going to go into more stories. I've already told enough. But I've got more on this. I could keep going, but then you're not going to watch. I'm really being filtered big time right now by YouTube. I couldn't even find my video this morning that I posted last night. The one that you're supposedly all watching today. All my numbers are down. I'm getting views below 100 now. When normally I get 200, 300, 400. I'm not getting those because nobody can find them. I couldn't find my own video. So it's important that you click the bell icon so at least you can get a notification if those are working. But YouTube is playing hardball right now. They're trying to completely shut down dissidents. Okay? They don't want any of the stuff that Trump's doing because it affects them. Trump will shut YouTube down for their behavior as soon as he gets time. Trump's out to get anybody who's restricting speech. And Musk is out there, the big one who bought Twitter and got rid of everybody that was restricting speech. Zuckerberg and Facebook said he's not going to do it anymore. He's a liar. He'll do what he needs to do when he wants to do it, but he's going to pretend to be nice so he doesn't get shut down. Because all these media sources could be controlled by the government, but they're not being controlled by the government because they're claiming that they're just a social platform for people to just chit-chat with. When they become a political platform, the government can regulate them. And that's what they've all become. And they don't want the government involved. All right, so be careful. Don't post something online that you don't want the whole world to see. Post good things, nice things. Help people with what you post. Yes, you can put up pictures of cats and things like that. Those are helpful. I like memes. Smart memes. You can take anything and make it bad, but there's smart memes out there, and I post those all the time. I may put a picture of it. Somebody says there's enough negativity online, I'm going to post a positive post. And the picture was of the red connector going to your battery. That's a positive post. I may put the picture up. All right, until we meet in the clouds, Dr. Barry, go check him out. It's a possibility of this springtime rapture. Could be this fall. They keep trying to associate it with Jewish holidays. I disagree, but it could happen just prior. So be ready. Till we meet in the clouds, God bless.